So most of you have just been through this Sunday's NDA English exam, NDA exam. So I've solved the paper. So let's discuss the answer key in a little bit of detail so that you know exactly why certain answers are correct, and all the best. All right, so I have set A. Set A begins with fill in the blanks. Let's see. As the southwest monsoon dashed through most of July, flash floods caused by the waters of the Narmada hit Jabalpur town. So now anything to do with water is pouring or lashing. So if you look at all the other options, you can eliminate them. So I always say either arrive at an answer directly, या जो unnecessary या unsuitable answers है, उनको आप you can eliminate. So we pick the answer lashed. Next, given the scale of the challenges that confronts us today. So to be confronted is to be challenged with something, to be faced with something. So supports, conflict, or convince cannot work here. Moving on. It is a really tough course. I'm just worried that I won't be able to go the distance. Go the distance is a phrase which means to go for a long time, to be successful, and to have your hard work bear fruit or get rewarded. So it's a really tough course. I'm just worried I won't be able to go the distance. Go the distance is a phrase. Next. The extent of the advancement made in agricultural productivity in India has been remarkable. Extent means the full scope, right? So context, distance, or syntax have absolutely no relevance here. Next, this essay explores and examines various systems for water appropriation and agricultural practices adopted by society in the arid meaning dry, desert-like, arid conditions of Rajasthan. So confuses, enhances, या controls तो हो ही नहीं सकता. Since you're saying it examines, so you mean taking an in-depth or a detailed look, which is exploration, right? So explores. Next. India has been able to successfully stabilize its population through family planning programs, even though I feel like we could do a little bit better considering the population condition in India. But family planning aims to make the population growth a bit steady or even have it stall for a little while, means stop for a little while. So we are able to stabilize. Next, adolescence. Now, adolescence is when one has left childhood and is now moving on to adulthood, but it's the stage, the period of life before being an adult. It's when people are teenagers or preteens, right? So it's a period. Adolescence is the period wherein a child enters adulthood. You're not quite a grown-up, but not quite a child either. The British who ruled India for 200 years were here to exploit India's natural resources, which is true, since they overused and abused our resources a little. So spoil nahi ho sakta, implore, which means to completely plead or request, that can't be. Drill nahi ho sakta, drill doesn't fit here. Moving on. Endangered species have a 50% or greater probability of, so something that is endangered, a species, a plant or an animal that is endangered, already faces extinction. It faces the threat of completely dying out. So we'll say endangered. So if normal population hoti hai ya endangered hoti hai, then the final step is that that endangered population then becomes extinct. So extinction is your answer. Next, the first law of thermodynamics states that whereas energy can be, now you know this is not really an English question, it's a science question. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only change forms, right? So we'll say can be transformed from one form into another, it cannot be created or destroyed. Hope you got all of these correct, or some of them, most of them correct. Spotting errors. Bread, butter, and jam. Common breakfast items. Don't you need a verb here? So bread, butter, and jam are common breakfast items. I'll write down the correction. Bilkul clear ho jayega. That are consumed by many households. So error in B. Next, $10,000 is the prize money being offered by the game show hosts. There's nothing wrong. The sentence is perfectly correct. So D, no error. Moving on. 365, create up the number of days. No, create the number of days in a calendar year or make up I would say is even better. Make up the number of days in a calendar year. Error in B. The process of removing wool from the body of an animal is called shearing. Nahi, the word you're looking for is shearing. Shearing means to cut the wool or the fur from an animal. Mostly we use this in case of sheep. Okay, then many people come from faraway places to pray at the temple. No, you're talking about the came from faraway places to pray at the temple. You're not talking about the D form yahan pe, because many people came to pray. Makes perfect sense, is the correct phrase. Then after reading forward is the preface, or it is a few words or a little body of text at the beginning of a book or a novel, right? So the hona chahiye yahan pe, the article is missing. So you'll say, after reading the foreword of the book on environmental issues in India, I decided to meet its author. Remember, the, which is a definite article, is used when we specify a particular noun. So that particular foreword in the book. Next, the guidance from the mentors, okay, and the teachers. Specific group of or category of nouns, definite noun again, a definite article again, sorry. The guidance from the mentors and the teachers facilitated the smooth conduct of elections to the students' council. Now remember, elections ke saath for nahi lagta. Elections are directed towards a post or a position. So we say elections to. Next, the principal of our school felicitated the students in the prize distribution ceremony. No, it's always during a ceremony. Felicitate means to present with awards or rewards. Felicitate. Next, if you were to come to Chennai to settle down, it will be the best possible decision. There is no error. Some of you may be wondering, ke A mein were kyun hai, since were only talks about the past. Well, you're partly right. Were talks about the past, but also you use were for situations of imagination or fantasy. So if you say something like, if I were a child, which can't happen. So it's a situation of fantasy. If you say, if I were the Queen of England, which also can't happen. If I were a bird, imagination, fantasy, right? So were उसके उस जगह पे लगता है जहां पे कोई situation जो होती है imaginary होती है, or something that cannot happen or hasn't happened yet. Next, they had promised to deliver, not delivered. Promised is already giving you a sense of the past. Promised to ke saath, you do not need the D form. You'll just say they had promised to deliver the bags before mid-March to enable us to inaugurate the shop. Error in A. Moving on to synonyms. He is always captious. Now, captious means somebody who likes to crib or complain or express displeasure about things, constantly. So we can say that they nitpick or they are fault finding. I'm writing down the word nitpicking is also a very good word that describes it. Constantly finding faults, constantly grumbling, complaining. Okay, next. Geomorphologists break it down. Geo related to rocks or the land or landforms. Morphology to do with the outer structure, right? So geomorphologists ascertain several wonderful facts about our Earth, right? So they verify. Next, the colonel ordered the soldiers to meet him in the commissary. Commissary hoti hai the cafeteria or the storage quarters actually for food and beverages. So here the canteen works. 24. The doctor dismembered. Now see, wherever words begin with DIS, DYS, wo word ka meaning, core word ka meaning becomes negative and opposite. So dismembered the patient's finger first and then cured the ailment. So dissected or removed. To dismember means to take something apart. Mr. Kumar works as a bursar. Bursars hote hain people who deal with money, treasurers, right? Financiers. So you'll say works as a bursar in the sports academy, accountant, because accountants deal with money and monetary transactions. His intentions are insidious. Some of you may even have seen a movie, a horror movie called Insidious. I know a lot of you like to watch. So do I. So insidious ka matlab hota hai working from the inside, but it's a negative word. So if you try and break something down, or you try and cause damage or destruction from within the structure, which is deceitful, or in this, so here deceitful means causing damage, or likely to cause destruction or having a negative impact. Insidious. 27th, respect for other human beings is intrinsic to the teachings of all religions, which is true. Intrinsic means from within, innate, okay, inborn, inherent. You can also write INN. This is a slash, which shows you other words you could use. Innate, from within. He completed the onerous task with relative ease. So an onerous task is something likely to cause fatigue, cause you to get tired because it's strenuous. Yeah, it requires a lot of work, a lot of labor. So wearying. Weary means tired. So something that causes fatigue or tiredness. You could even say fatiguing. All right then. Alfred was a potentate during the Middle Ages. Potentate में मेरे students ने जिन्होंने मेरे साथ roots करे हैं, you've done this with me. Potent means strong. You've done this in potency. Chemistry में पढ़ते हो. Potency of hydrogen, pH. Right. So potentate is somebody who rules with power, or has or holds a lot of power or control. So here, a monarch. A monarch is a ruler or a king. Next, I abandoned the task due to indolence. Indolence means pure, sheer laziness, being slothful. Here, laziness, or you can write slothfulness. Sloth is an animal that moves very, very slowly. So its name comes from the word for lazy, sloth. So slothfulness, indolence. Okay, make sure you note down all the other words also. Usage of paired words. Again, this tests vocabulary, but बहुत simple थे इस बारी के. Principle and principle, they're pronounced the same way. So you know that principal, PLE, is a rule, and principal, PAL, is the head of an institution. All your schools, they had principals. So option C, principal means moral rule, and principal means PAL, means head of an educational institution. Plane and plane, again, very, very simple. Option C, plane means something that flies, an airplane, aeroplane, whatever you want to call it. And plane means flat surface, the plains of Punjab. 33, pale and pale. Again, simple. From nursery rhymes, we've done pale, PAL, filled their pail and went up the hill, right? So PALE means faded or light in color, in shade, and PAIL means a bucket. Metal and metal. This is a good one. So when they say that some competitive exams really test your mettle, which one are they talking about? METTLE. So here, option D, metal, AL, is a hard, shiny material that is a good conductor, and metal, TLE, means mental resilience. Resilience here means strength. The ability to bounce back from hardship. Okay, hail and hail. So HIAL means pellets of frozen rain. So jab hailstorms hote hain, when along with rain, small pieces of ice fall. And HALE means strong. So there is a phrase called hail and hearty, meaning healthy, happy, regular. Sorry, hearty. Remember this, hail and hearty. Conscious and conscience, the pronunciation is slightly different. Notice conscious, meaning aware, meaning alive, awake, or conscience, slight N sound, which is that inner voice that tells you whether something is good or bad, right or wrong. Now, brilliantly, both these words contain a Latin root, SCI. SCI, it relates with to know something. So, एक conscious में, first वाले में, when you are awake or alert, or when you can feel sensation, you know what is happening around you. Dusra, conscience. So if you're in a room alone and somebody's phone is there, Somebody has left their phone behind. You will not pick it up and take it and keep it. Why? Because you have a conscience, and your conscience does not allow you to cheat or steal. So that is to know the difference between right and wrong, good or bad, moral or immoral. So option D, conscious means aware and conscience means sense of right and wrong. Moving on. Dissent and dissent. Yahan pe pronunciation same hai. So the first one, dissent, means ideas different. Now dissent also means dispute. Again, a DIS word, meaning a point of conflict or a reason for a fight. Dissent means having ideas different from general beliefs or official position. And descent, which is the opposite of ascent, means movement towards a lower place. So when you descend a mountain, that is known as a descent. Devise and device, again, this is a different pronunciation. One is devise, Z sound, S-E, and device, which is a gadget, S sound. Option C, device means a piece of equipment meant for accomplishing a specific task, and devise means to find a new way, or means finding a new way to do something. Option C. Come to discrete and discrete. Again, pronunciation is the same, and a lot of people tend to confuse it. So ETE, discrete, means separate. Aapne discrete numbers maths mein kiya hai. So remember the spelling from there. DISCRETE means separate or distinct categories of objects, whereas discrete, EET, means maintaining confidentiality, or you could say maintaining secrecy. A few days before the exam, my students will laugh because we discussed this in class, and we discussed, ma'am, SE or CE words mein kya difference hota hai, like practice, practice, or advice, advice. One is a noun, one is a verb. Go back and research it, it's fun. Okay, eminent and imminent, the pronunciation is different. Eminent, imminent. So eminent means famous, popular, well-known. And imminent means about to happen or about to come, right? So eminent means important and famous. Imminent means something about to happen. So let me tell you a little fun little line. If I say that you do well in your examinations and you get commissioned and you become officers, then your eminence is imminent. That means your popularity is on its way. Your being famous is about to happen. Your eminence is imminent. Okay, moving on to antonyms. Again, I found the antonyms simpler than the last time also. Many metals are malleable in nature and property. Now, malleable hote hai pliable. Pliable means that they are flexible and can be changed. So the opposite of malleable will be hard, tough, rigid. You could even say rigid. Okay? Something could be strong but malleable also. So necessarily strong nahi hoga, yahan pe hard hoga, because something that is malleable can't be hard, but something that is malleable can be strong. Remember that. To neglect a warning is to invite danger. Neglect means to overlook or to ignore. So the opposite is to regard. Regard means to pay attention to observe. Next, his ostentatious behavior surprised everyone. Ostentatious ke liye write a very good synonym, means flamboyant. Flamboyant ko aap showy bhi bol dete ho, showy. Ostentation means related to being flashy, bright, loud. The opposite will be modest. Modest is simple. Next, the experience of COVID pandemic was excruciating for much of the population. Excruciating, causing pain, causing fright, causing horror. And a lot of, it's a painful, negative, disturbing experience. The opposite, of course, is mild. Because if you think about it, harrowing jo hai na, harrowing is also a synonym for excruciating. A trip to the hills was refreshing. Refreshing means now it fills you with more energy, more vigor. And the opposite of this, of course, is wearying. Wearying, again, tiresome, or tiring somebody out, causing fatigue. Comprehension was not difficult, my dears. Comprehension basically talked about how people tend to, overuse, exploit, abuse resources, especially because they feel like, their self-interest comes above everything else. So basically, resources and natural resources, renewable, non-renewable, should all be treated with respect, should all be used wisely so that we can save it for generations to come and save it for our lifetimes also. Otherwise, if they all run out, then we will be at the mercy of, well, the evil forces, dark forces of nature. Hamare paas kuch nahi bachega. So basically they talk about sustaining the resources that you have. Come to question number 46. Why, according to the writer, can't people be motivated to use a resource prudently? Now, the passage gives you 3 reasons why people misutilize or overuse resources, right? So they feel that others may overuse the resource. Absolutely not. Remember that in NDA or in any kind of UPSC paper, reading comprehension mein, your answer can only and only be something that is already given in the text as context or as background. आपने अपनी तरफ से कोई implication नहीं लेना, कोई suggestion नहीं करना. Don't basically overthink an answer. If it's not given in the text, it cannot be your answer. There has to be a link. So first का कोई link नहीं है. It is possible to substitute the resource. Yes, this is mentioned. Abundance of the resource availability, absolutely, given as one of the reasons people overuse resources. So answer is C, 2 and 3 only. 47. When do people use resources exhaustively? ये थोड़ा सा आप लोगों को confuse किया होगा, because इसके लिए थोड़ा सा सोचना पड़ेगा. It's a slightly vague answer, but again, still linked. Okay, इसमें अगर directly answer नहीं आया, which is B, so eliminate the other responses as being completely irrelevant. Look at option A. When the substitution of resources is felicitated by the NGOs, no mention, not at all. Next, see, dekho, when the resources use has little impact, not mentioned either, not talked about. When they desire desperately for sustainable development, no, that is not when they will use resources exhaustively. That is the opposite of what they're trying to do. Then option B, when the resource is about to expand, when they feel like khatam nahi hoga, hamare liye to bahut hai, so people tend to overutilize it in complacence and in callousness. The self-interest of people affects the use of renewable resources. Positively? Absolutely not. Erratically? Maybe yes. Affirmatively? That again means positively. No. Indifferently? No. People are not indifferent. People are rather callous about it. People are rather insensitive to the needs of nature. So erratic, definitely. Erratic means fluctuating constantly, or it means that it's not steady, the use of their resources, which is corroborated, which is verified by the passage. People rooted in a locality believe in conservation and reproduction of resources. The second part of your RC talks about this. The last 4-5 lines. Yes. Then, which among the following is closest in meaning with the word deplete? Deplete means to completely get rid of, to completely use up. So exhaust is the obvious answer. All right, go through these answers and tally up your marks. I hope you all did well and see you on the other side. All the best.